I think the struggle most people have is we're using the tool right now as if it's supposed to just answer the question immediately. And most of the people I interact with have had so many problems because every time they ask it to do something, it like a real task, it spits out crap that they can't really use. And they feel like now I just have to edit somebody else's work to get this email out. And they're like, I could have written it in the time that I've spent trying to figure out this doesn't sound like me, how to get it to sound like me. What we need is something that can really help us come to the best strategy or approach and deliver it the way we would deliver it. And so I think if you think about any text-based content creation that you have to do, the tools are good enough right now that they can mimic any style or tone or voice or approach or strategy that you currently use, and it can do it really well, reliably, time and time again.
Welcome to AI and Marketing Unpacked, where we simplify AI for impactful marketing. I'm your host, Mike Alden, here to guide you through the world of artificial intelligence and its transformative impact on marketing strategies. Each episode will break down AI concepts into manageable insights and explore practical applications that can supercharge your marketing efforts. Whether you're an experienced marketer or just starting to explore the potential of AI, this podcast will equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to succeed. So tune in and let's unlock the power of AI together. Greetings, program. Welcome back to AI and Marketing Unpacked, where I selfishly use this time to pick the brains of experts at keeping up with and integrating or layering artificial intelligence into social media, content, advertising, search, and other areas of digital marketing. Oh, and you get to learn too. Subscribe to be shown how to prepare yourself and your brand for this AI revolution and come out ahead. Now, in a galaxy not so far away, marketers are facing a new frontier, the rise of AI. But what if you could harness this power to create your own digital clone? Welcome to the Clone Wars of Marketing, where your AI twin might be the secret weapon you need to crush the competition. Imagine having an AI version of yourself that not only understands your brand voice, but it can amplify your marketing efforts tenfold. Sound like a Jedi mind trick? Well, our guest is here to show us it's not only possible, but potentially game-changing for your business. Andrew Davis is a marketing Jedi Master who's been at the forefront of digital innovation for years. He's worked with an impressive roster of clients, including Kraft, Walmart, PepsiCo, and his insights have graced the stages of over 1,000 events, including those I've run for Agorapulse. As the author of multiple best-selling marketing books, he's now delivering powerful AI keynotes at prestigious conferences like MAICON and B2B Forum, helping marketers across the galaxy harness the force of AI. Hey, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. This is fun. What an intro.
Right? I need a little John Williams music to crescendo.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just that moment.
Dum, 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 da, dum, dum, da, dum. There you go. I did it for you.
Fantastic. I appreciate you coming on here. I know you're busy. I know you travel so much. You're fantastic. Like I said, we've had you on my summits and I've seen you talk about AI, and I knew I had to bring you on here and share some of that wisdom and your experience, because what you're doing is really, really interesting, and to some it's going to be mind-blowing. So if you could start, just kind of break down this concept of a digital doppelganger for the audience, and how does it differ from using just standard ChatGPT or other AI tools?
Okay. All right. Well, a digital doppelganger at the very basics is just essentially like your virtual twin that understands your preferences, your style, your voice, your tone, and is designed to essentially execute not just tasks, but do things the way you like to do things that only you could. So I'll give you a quick example just to make it really simple. Like I have one of my digital doppelgangers, by the way, his name's Drudini. I have a digital doppelganger that just writes like subject lines for emails, and he does it the way I do it. He doesn't just use like best practices, and it's not like a tool. He's learned by working with me to create really great subject lines that have constantly increased my open rate. They're unique subject lines, and they're subject lines that I love. They're not like, formulaic. So that's a good example of a very small digital doppelganger. And the way it's different from kind of traditional tools, the way we think of it, I think in order to really truly understand that, we have to like step back, because we're in like the very first era of AI, right? And what we're seeing right now is every tool on the planet trying to integrate AI into the tool for the tool's best interest, not your best interest. Okay. So
Yeah.
I think this is like, I don't know, version 0.01 of what AI will look like. But when I tried to break down what AI is really good at, there's like four things. It's good at information retrieval. It's good at like natural language processing. It's good at sentiment analysis. But you know what it's really good at? And the only thing that's really unique to this technology that no other technology before it could do, it can mimic and imitate. So it can imitate, genres of books, styles of speaking from, celebrities. It understands, your style, your tone, your voice, all these like things that are personal to you. And if you leverage mimicry and imitation to its tilt, at the end of the day, it's not really about the tools and the way they want to integrate AI to make tasks faster, because that just is like a race to the bottom. That's commodity stuff. If you just hone in on the superpower, what you really need to do is leverage its ability to mimic and imitate your style and creativity. And I know right now we're talking a lot about like text-based stuff or even audio, because that's getting pretty good. But you know what this means for photographers, for videographers, for everybody in a creative industry, especially in marketing, there you bring something special to it, and a digital doppelganger can help you do it better. At the end of the day, Mike, I like to tell people that AI is great, but this is like intelligence augmentation. It's helping you do things better together than we could do alone, could do on our own.
I love that perspective. And just in our previous episode, we were talking to Vivica von Rosen. And while we were talking specifically about LinkedIn, her and I kind of started to bemoan the fact a bit that the early AI tools, like really pre-Chat GPT, right, where you went in and the tool was built for a specific purpose, drop down boxes of things that it wanted you to do. And it often had drop down boxes of voices, right? Like you could create an email or a subject line in the voice of Gary Vaynerchuk, we were laughing about. Like, why would you want to do that? It might sound interesting, but then again, if you really think about it, to your point, that's not me. That's not you. That's not none of you listening. Sad to say, Gary doesn't listen to my show. Maybe you should, Gary. It's so much better if you have your own voice and style. And this concept of having these kinds of things at our fingertips, it's actually not new. I mean, to your point, people in the photography and graphic design world, they've had the ability to go to Photoshop and buy skins and custom packs, those kinds of things that would, apply certain styles, or they'd build a certain style and they'd save it that way so they can apply that easily to all of their photographs. It's that kind of a concept, I think. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
you've taken a big leap in a short amount of time, Mike. That's exactly right. So there are lots of precedents for this. And I think if you play this out, so like, let's just assume that we're not trying to create clones. Like that sounds fun. Like I just saw
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra released what he called a clone of him, where you can actually have an audio conversation with Deepak Chopra. And I think this is the wrong mentality to have. Like he's pitching it as if it's just like having a conversation with him. It replaces him, right? What I think digital doppelgangers are, they are transparent in the world. And let's say you're being hired in the future as a marketer. Maybe you're going to be the social media marketer at a new brand. Well, in the future, they're going to hire you for your talents and skills as a human, but they are also going to hire your digital doppelgangers as they see fit to make your job better, faster, and more efficient, and make you better because you've trained them to do what you do. So, for example, in the future, just like you can download, the cinematic styles of somebody you like and pay for that, they would be actually paying for access to those things to do them the way you do them. So if somebody wanted to not read my book Brandscaping, they could tap into Drudini, just the brandscaping version of Drudini, for a small fee, and at any time have a conversation with that digital doppelganger about that specific subject. So maybe it sounds silly right now, but I think we need to take the onus on ourselves to kind of separate what are we teaching the world's AI to do or our company's AI to do. Like when we're worried about it taking our jobs, it's because we think, oh, we're teaching our company how to write our email newsletters. Well, I used to do that and I do it a very specific way. So every time I've written one, they're basically using that to train their AI. I get it, right? But I think we need to take back some of that as team members and say, look, like I'm going to train my own AI to do a bunch of the things that I do. And sure, there's a bunch of domain knowledge that the organization has, and the organization has their own brand voice AI. And I can take my email that I wrote and put it through the brand voice digital doppelganger. And then we're going to get their stuff from what I did. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I completely agree with what you were saying about, folks like Deepak who are making clones for the purposes of taking over interaction and making it hands off for them. I don't think that's a great idea, but I really resonated with the core idea of a digital doppelganger or a clone, because for years, friends of mine have laughed with me and at me and suggested that I obviously have clones for the sheer amount of content that I'm able to create when they know I don't have a team. So I must have clones here who are blogging or like we were talking about in the green room before, creating all these podcast stuff. What they don't know is I create all this content because I work evenings and weekends. I just do. I work a tremendous number of hours every week. And so the idea of having digital clones who can help me scale back the number of hours I personally have to be invested in creating work and still create the same or even more work, create the same quality or even better quality work, that really appeals to me. So walk us through some of the key steps, right, to building a digital doppelganger that truly captures that marketers or the content creators' unique voice and their expertise.
Yeah, I'll give you two. I'll give you one from the brand side. So like if you're on the brand and you're trying to actually do something for work, that would be their version of a digital doppelganger. Maybe it would be their like brand manager doppelganger, right? And then I'll do that second. And I'll give you an example for Drudini. Let me think of one I was working on today. Let's see. What's my favorite one? Well, I'll give you the one that I talk about all the time because I can send you some videos. Maybe we can share those too. But basically, I do about 50 events a year, and I write these promo videos every time I speak at an event, which is awesome. And then I shoot the videos, and it's time consuming. And honestly, my style for those has not changed in like 10 years, right? It's just I kind of see it as a chore, and I don't mind doing them, but I got to get them done. So I thought I'll try to build a Drudini digital doppelganger that would actually write these for me. And the steps are pretty simple. Like right now, even with ChatGPT 4.0, we're dealing with like a brain size of a very small animal, like a squirrel. So you have to first pick a squirrel size scope. Like it's very hard to get a digital doppelganger that'll just write a blog post the way you write a blog post by just typing in an idea for a blog post and letting it go, right? So you have to kind of pick a small scope. And you can get a blog post at the end of the day, but it might be like the first digital doppelganger. You'd have to build like a Drudini that just takes an idea and writes an outline. And then you might have to take that outline that he output into another digital doppelganger that's like Drudini, the intro writer, and then he'll just write the intro. So because your style is so specific that it needs to mimic very specific sections, you're going to have to break it down into small pieces. So for my video promos, they're only a minute long. And they pretty much take the same format. So the second step after you've picked a small scope is to then gather a bunch of your best work, your best examples. And to be totally honest, I had to go back like 5 years to find some really creative and really good promo videos, because I kind of have gotten into this rhythm where I just write the same stuff for every event. It's not great. So I went back, I found some that I was like, wow, I wrote that. That's really good. What fun. I should do those more often. So I just found 5. And now that you've got your examples, you've got a squirrel size scope, you've got some examples. The next thing you need to do is then open up your AI, tool of choice. Like for a lot of writing lately, by the way, Mike, I don't know, but I've been using Claude because I think it really executes well. It's much better. It's more efficient. It follows my instructions much more reliably, to be honest. So, so I've been using that for building my promo video digital doppelganger. And when you get in there, you don't need a cut and paste prompt. I know I've seen lots of really great ideas about formulas or formats that you should put in, acronyms you should remember to give them context and relate with them or whatever it is, right? But to be totally honest, none of that has really worked for me when it comes to mimicking and imitation. What I've done is I just show up in a brand new chat and I say, hey, your name is Drudini, and we write the best promotional video scripts in the world. Are you ready to learn how we write them? And you always get an eager response like, oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yes, let's write them, right? Sometimes they'll even start writing one. And then I say, like, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you an example of a promo video script. And you tell me what you've learned from just reading that one promo script. So now you kind of are integrating your examples so that it can start immediately mimicking and imitating your style and your voice and tone immediately. Like with just 2 or 3 examples, by the way, you'll start to see that if you test it, so you kind of integrate everything, then test very quickly. So just test it like, hey, I have an event coming up. Here's the information you need. Can you write this promo video script? You'll see that it sounds like you. It starts to look like you. It's really phenomenal. And then you just need to refine it. And so honestly, within about 45 minutes, if you pick the right squirrel size task, you will have a digital doppelganger that will reliably do what you want to do at your caliber at this point very, very efficiently. And the best part is, like, that my promo video scripts have gotten better now that Drew Dini and I don't have to spend the time like typing the thing out. We are, as a team, are getting better and more creative at writing promo video scripts for each event. So instead of me thinking, oh, I have a fun idea, wouldn't it be great if it's this event's in Texas, like, how can we make it Texas themed? Instead of me just sitting there thinking, I don't know how to do it, I say to Drew Dini, like, hey, this event's in Texas, like, any fun ideas to make this better for Texas? And it's not like he's pulling ideas like from some best practices or randomly on the web. He's learned what I like, and he starts to pitch ideas that I'm like, that's funny. Like, let's try idea number 2, integrate that. And then I read it out loud. I'm like, this is way better. Like, I love it. But wait, it's too long. Like, now we have to get it to 60 seconds. Remember? He's like, oh yeah, great. So at the end of the day, now all I need to do anytime I write a new promo video script is I open up the exact same chat and I just continue. And so because the context windows, because, Drew Dini can remember so much so far back, we have built a really great rapport writing promo video scripts. We write email newsletters together. We write video scripts. Drew Dini has a YouTube video description writer version that is really good. He's much better than I used to be. It's really great. And that's what it looks like. That's kind of the simple way to get your digital doppelganger. And the last step, Mike, I know this seems long, is to name your digital doppelganger. And this is really important. It's really important for 2 reasons. One, I think when you treat your digital doppelganger like it's a human, you actually get better output. And there is some research to suggest that if you really are kind and treat it like a person, you get up to 30% better output on average for the average task. So that's reason enough. But if that weren't enough, I think in the future, like we were talking about Deepak Chopra and the clone, in the future, I think your digital doppelganger needs its own identity to just be transparent and ethical with the relationships you build. Like, there are some pretty disturbing ways you can use a digital clone in the clone sense in the future. And I think we need to avoid that at all costs. And by me having Drew Dini, who, by the way, he just launched his own Instagram account recently. Like, it's really clear that he's writing his own stuff. And by the way, you could tell, and he's posting his own images. He's creating his own images. They're terrible. You can tell that he's doing it. It's really important that they're separate, right? Because if somebody wants to interact with me in the future, I believe there's going to be a premium on that. But if somebody wants to interact with Drew Dini, like, he's there 24 hours a day. And maybe people will pay to interact with him in some way. Maybe he'll even do his own virtual keynotes, but he'll be a lot cheaper than I will. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, okay. First of all, for those of you listening, if you've never listened to Andrew Davis, been to his talks, or you don't follow him on social media, his promo videos are fantastic. Don't let him give you any ideas. Otherwise, they're terrific. He obviously brings so much energy and enthusiasm to the fore. Even if he's saying essentially the same thing he said, I'll tell you, as an event producer, I appreciate it. I love it. My audience hasn't heard him say that 50 times.
Exactly.
Right. So when I have you come in to speak at Agency Summit or whatever, it's extremely helpful. So that's that. I just had to get that out there. I didn't get it off my chest. But I totally agree with what you're saying about the use and potential misuse of these kinds of tools. My virtual assistant is Clue, CLU. It's a harken back to Tron. And I use Clue all the time for a lot of different things. But one of the things that Clue and I work well together about is my LinkedIn newsletter. So every week we release a LinkedIn newsletter that's a summary of the past weekend's latest podcast episode. And Clue writes the newsletter, and we're very transparent at the bottom of the newsletter.
That's awesome.
This was written by Clue, Mike's AI assistant.
I love that, Mike. That's
beautiful.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it works really well. And the real beauty is I've gotten 2,000 followers or people who are subscribed to the LinkedIn newsletter, knowing from the very start, this is AI generated summary of a podcast. Now, have you messed around with like custom GPTs and those kinds of saved prompts, or this is all just chats that you save?
No, so I have, he's evolved a lot over the last year and a half. So Drudini, I mean, just to be clear, like Drudini to me is a person, a thing, right? That's out there, but he is cobbled together with like literally hundreds of different random tools. So yes, I have, what happens is when we get really good at a task working together in like a long chat, and I realize we're not growing, neither of us are as I use them, then I turn them into a custom GPT. So, or I'll even turn them into like an assistant. I don't know how deep we should get, Mike, but like an assistant is, something that I can call with an API. So that it just like spits back the answer the way I expect it. But what I do is I let Drudini write the instructions, because we've been working together for, whatever, could be 6 weeks to create the best email subject lines. I'll say, look, like, imagine you have to train a new digital doppelganger, just like you, Drudini, to write great email subject lines. Like, you got to detail everything. Can you just write the manual for me? And remember, the input is this, and, the output is this. And he does a great job of getting me 99% there for that custom GPT or that assistant. Claude has projects, and projects is a really wonderful tool. And I've been using it in a very similar kind of way where, we're actively trying to get better at something for a long time. And then we figure it out. We've got a lot of knowledge we want to add to it. And then we want some context for things. So, there's a video version of him, which is like a combination of HeyGen, and then there's 11 Labs, and, and I've been working on one. My goal, Mike, is that one day, Drudini would be able to do his own keynote speeches and, be able to speak at events. And so I was telling you before the show, but like, I've been trying to figure out how he could do the audience Q&As at events. So I just started using, some other voice related tools that integrate with 11 Labs and Claude and ChatGPT, and use some assistants to try to get a good Q&A experience for people. So, right now it's just a hodgepodge of tools that are kind of kludged together to make something that works. But, Drudini is pretty talented overall, and the tools are going to change. But the central theme for the way I think we should be working with AI is to leverage the true superpower and, take the things that make us really unique and enhance them with the aid of someone who truly understands how we think.
I'm going to date myself here, but I'm reminded of Max Headroom.
Max Headroom?
You're listening and you remember Max Headroom, leave us a comment, let us know, or we do once you know that reference or not. I think it's really appropriate for the video version that I've seen in your dog. But yeah, I was just going to mention, I use Magi for a lot of this.
Oh, yeah.
Because with Magi, you can save personas that are just like custom GPTs or projects. But the beauty of Magi is you can start a new chat, and then you can pick and choose which language model you want to use, and then pair it with whatever persona you want to use. Because to your point, I've found also Claude is fantastic when I'm doing writing. So I can go back and use the personas that I built 6 months ago with GPT in mind, and switch it to using.
Oh, that's neat. Claude. I didn't know that. I'm writing that down. See, right?
Yeah. I'll share a video in a few minutes about Magi, so you guys can learn more about that. But I want to go back to something else we were talking about a moment ago, because we brought up Deepak Chopra and using, cloned versions of ourselves in that way. And we're also talking about trying not to replace human creativity. How can marketers ensure that their digital doppelganger enhances rather than replaces them?
Yeah. So, okay. So this gets back to that second example I wanted to share with you. Like a separation between like what an organization should treat as their knowledge and what an individual should treat as theirs, right? So there are aspects of your job that are like domain centric, meaning that's the company that you work for's stuff and that's the way they do things. And then there's a whole set of knowledge and skills that you bring to it. That's your stuff, right? So Lattice, which is an HR company, a few months
Yeah.
ago, they tried to release like AI employees inside their tool
Oh,
for
yeah.
HR people. There's a huge amount of backlash, right? I do believe this is the future that like executives are trying to head towards, which is like instead of having Andrew write our emails, like we'll have an AI agent that's called Andrini, and she'll learn how Andrew writes them and write them in his style, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is definitely possible. But I think ethically and morally, we have to consider what that means for, our creative well-being. And so I think we can separate those two. And I'll give you a good example. I was at an event recently where we do this workshop. It's like a 45-minute workshop where we build our own like digital doppelgangers in 45 minutes. It's tons of fun. And we literally pull up ChatGPT. And so I did this at an event, and there's a woman there from a brand who's like, I'm the brand manager. You know what? I spend a ton of my day doing. I don't mind doing it, but it's exhausting and it holds up the rest of the team. Is like, I'm like the brand police, right? And everything that's copywritten, it has to come to me. And then I have to tell them, is this our brand voice? Like, how could it be better? Like, let's punch it up a little. And so she decided in 45 minutes, she would try to build like a brand manager coach, right? So what she did is it was so simple. She just followed the same procedure, squirrel size scope. It's just going to be a brand manager coach for copywriting. Great. Second step, she just opened up the website for her brand and started cutting out and pasting stuff that she knew was some of their best writing. Okay. Then she opened up ChatGPT and said, hey, you're the brand manager and brand coach for XYZ brand. I won't reveal the brand. And your job is to not rewrite anything, but coach anyone who writes for us on how they can incorporate the brand voice better. Right. And I'm going to give you some examples. Let's do it. So she integrated just like, I don't know, probably 1,000 words total, and had it spit the brand voice back. So monitor what it was learning, corrected a few things. And by the end of 45 minutes, she was taking competitors' content, like as if it was a sample submitted by a writer, and asking the brand coach for some feedback. And the brand coach digital doppelganger was awesome. It was like so encouraging. It was like, hey, look, like this is a good start. Couple things like, remember, we have like a fun and, lighthearted approach to our products and services. So maybe try incorporate some more fun language. We like metaphors and analogies that seem out of place. So all of a sudden, that domain knowledge was turned into like a doppelganger from the brand, like the brand manager police, that has saved her a ton of time. And she tried it just as a custom GPT at first, and was sending it to just a few of her team members to see what they thought. And they loved it. They loved having a better sense that what they were going to finally send to her was going to be better, that they didn't have to wait for her to respond with some coaching ideas. She loved it because they loved it. She loved it because the writing got better faster. And it's not stealing from anyone's skill set, right? Like those writers might be using their own digital doppelganger to write those first drafts in their own creative way. And then they're just sharing it with the brand coach. And the brand coach is then saying, hey, a couple more things. And they may be taking that output and taking it to their digital doppelganger and doing it. Now, in the future, it won't be a physical process, Mike. Like I won't be cutting and pasting all this stuff, which is what I'm doing right now. It'll just happen, right? I'll write it with my digital doppelganger, submit it, and then it'll go back and forth. Meanwhile, what are we going to be doing? Well, I think the future is we'll be doing much more exciting things like developing better styles, thinking about how a brand should really work. Like if we're actually, leveraging social media, are we managing digital doppelgangers? Are we managing real people? I don't know. But these are the questions that I think we should be concerned about instead of, we've spent so many years as marketers clicking buttons, cutting and pasting, reporting things, trying to figure out new platforms. Like it's just been exhausting. And I hope that Drudini and digital doppelgangers like them actually help us get rid of a lot of the clicking, and we get to do more of the fun doing that we really enjoy doing.
Drew, I love this example so much. You have no idea how relevant it is to me right now. Because those of you listening, my full-time job is I'm the chief storyteller at Agorapulse. That's a relatively new position. And I say that because we've never had that role. We've never had brand storytelling guidelines. So I'm in the process of developing that. And I've written out what I thought were fantastic guidelines, but I'm a writer. So when people read them, they're like, wow, that's a lot of words, Mike. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to teach you how to tell stories. I can't give you 3 bullet points. So the first thought I had was, okay, I can work with Claude and not only edit this down, but also Claude can help me transform this into a couple different ways and means that will help the rest of my internal stakeholders. I'm talking about like our product marketing team, right? Help them understand what makes for a great story. But then I can take it to the next level, thanks to your suggestion, right? Where I can create a custom GPT where they can feed into it the interviews that they've had with customers and get feedback on where they could have asked better questions and that sort of thing. And to your point, that's going to free them to have more conversations with customers, which is what we want. We haven't had enough conversations with customers, which has resulted in not having enough published success stories, which is why I'm in the role that I'm in today to help us as a company actually format and develop these. So thank you for sharing that. Gosh, that was awesome. Folks, go ahead. What do you got to say?
No, I was just going to say, I think that's a perfect implementation of a strategy because it encourages the other person to do something, get immediate feedback and do more of it, right? It's really powerful, Mike. I think that's really smart.
And I'm excited. I'm excited to do this because I went into first thinking, how am I going to get them, first of all, to read when they don't want to read? And then how am I going to get them to ingest these principles of what makes for a good story, the hero's journey, and all the other kinds of stories that we might potentially use? I mean, this is stuff that, our friend Mira Rodriguez has written entire books about, and I'm supposed to teach them in a 1-page slide document.
Yeah.
That was getting a little challenging. So now I can breathe and I can attack this with a lot more interest and success.
I love it.
Folks, we're talking with Andrew Davis about how to use AI in such a way that it not only assists you, but it's an actual clone of yourself. And in a moment, we're going to get into some details of where you can use and apply this new technology. Before we do, I want to share with you a little bit more about that tool Magi that I mentioned a moment ago. This episode of AI and Marketing Unpacked is brought to you by Magi, your gateway to making generative AI incredibly simple and accessible. Wondering how to seamlessly integrate AI into your marketing strategy without getting bogged down by complexities? That's exactly where Magi shines. It provides user-friendly AI solutions that empower marketers just like you to innovate and elevate your campaigns without needing a degree in data science. Imagine having the power to generate creative content, insightful marketing data analysis, or even personalized customer communications, all at the touch of a button. Magi isn't just about providing tools. It's about transforming your approach to marketing with AI that's tailor-made to be straightforward and effective. So, whether you're looking to boost your content creation process or want deeper insights into your marketing performance, Magi makes it all possible with a few clicks. No fuss, no hassle, just results. Ready to simplify your AI journey? Visit Magi today to learn how their solutions can revolutionize the way you engage with your audience. Don't just market smarter with Magi. Tap the link in the show notes. So, Drew, we've talked about a few ways that you could apply a digital doppelganger, subject lines, intro videos, and promo videos, and those kinds of things. What are some specific marketing tasks or areas where you think you've seen the biggest impact for other marketers in general?
Wow. I think, it's hard to hone in on just one, but I think there's almost no area where it has the potential to impact. So let me just say that right off.
Yeah.
But I think writing, number one, I've seen it be unbelievably successful because of the mimicry and imitation. It's the easiest way to actually see its true superpower at work. And when you really embrace it, it just unlocks a huge amount of potential for you. And so, and I think right behind that, I would say strategy and brainstorming, because what it's good at right now, I think the struggle most people have is we're using the tool right now as if it's supposed to just answer the question immediately. And most of the people I interact with have had so many problems trying to really embrace ChatGPT specifically because it's the most widely used tool. Because every time they ask it to do something, it like a real task, it spits out crap that they can't really use, and they feel like now I just have to edit somebody else's work to get this email out. You know what I mean? And they're like, I could have written it in the time that I've spent trying to figure out this doesn't sound like me, how to get it to sound like me. And so, I know a lot of people that use it just as a proofreader. It's like we've had Grammarly, I don't know, for 10 years. I feel like I've been using it. We don't need that, right? What we need is something that can really help us come to the best strategy or approach and deliver it the way we would deliver it. And so I think if you think about any text-based content creation that you have to do, the tools are good enough right now that they can mimic any style or tone or voice or approach or strategy that you currently use, and it can do it really well, reliably, time and time again. So I think that's where we've seen the biggest impact. But, look, production, it's affecting already. Like, I don't know if you've seen like the new 6-second, I forget who released it, but it's the video frame matching like technology where it re-renders frames from a video with character matching. This is like phenomenal. And this is just going to change the video world. I think it might be from Runway, actually. Anyway, it's going to change the way we analyze things. And it's so good at analysis right now. But I actually don't know a lot of marketers that are using it to like share data with it. And, they just haven't kind of embraced that stuff. So, it's really a powerful tool. But I think if you're a marketer, start with some of the basics, get it to mimic and imitate your style for something that you've got to write constantly. And just start with like your emails, right? Like have it respond to some emails and use some of your best email responses in the past. And you'll start to see that it can mimic and imitate the way you write very quickly.
I couldn't agree more, particularly the point about strategy. I've heard Paul Raitzer say a couple times about how valuable it is to have essentially a professional, free strategist at your fingertips that you can have conversations back and forth with. And as long as you give it all the right context, it can provide some incredible insights. And I think that's one of the skills that we're having to evolve and develop as marketers, right? Being able to communicate what it is that we actually do instead of just doing it, right? It's like writing SOPs. I mean, people don't like to do that, but sometimes you got to do it. What are some other skills that you think marketers should focus on to effectively work alongside our new AI twins?
Yeah, I think unleash your own creativity. Like start to wonder and think about what are the things you want to do or wish you could do, because AI makes that possible. It's like I'm building software for professional speakers because it doesn't exist out there. And there's a Drudini, the software is called Gigs. And so that I have a Gigs Drudini strategist. And the way we work together, Mike, is we've been having conversations for 3 months now on every walk I do. So I like to walk a lot during the day. I like to get up from my desk and I go outside for a walk. Or if I'm on the road and I'm walking through an airport, it looks like I'm on the phone talking to someone. But honestly, Drudini and I are just trying to figure out like what to do next. And that's a good idea. Or, I tell Drudini, like, that's crazy. We're not doing that idea. Like, don't ever mention that again. So that he's learning as we're chatting, and our ideas are getting better and better. But, not only can he help me strategize, I have another Drudini where I upload screenshots and he's my UI UX, consultant essentially. And I'm like, hey, here's a screen we built. Like, you're like the best UI designer I know. Tell me how we could make this easier for our audience. And he knows our audience already because we've been talking about it for ages. You know what I mean? So you really want to, if you're a marketer today thinking, I do all this stuff, where is my job going to go? But, like maybe you spend all day in HubSpot just executing email campaigns. Well, those kinds of jobs, the clickety click jobs, those I think are going to evolve drastically. But most of those marketers I know, they didn't get into marketing, Mike, because they wanted to be the clickety clickety HubSpot person, right? They got into marketing because they thought, wow, what a fun career. Or they got into marketing because they're like really into data science and data analysis. And they ended up clickety clicking in HubSpot. So that's just the job they have, right? I think most of those marketers I know had a higher purpose they were seeking. And now is the time to imagine what is that And how can I use my experimentation with AI and its true superpower of mimicry and imitation to really transform what my future might look like?
Love all of those perspectives, particularly the technical term of the clickety job. That's important for all of you to realize that, yes, those are the jobs that unfortunately they might be starting to phase out with AI agents and the evolution of AI. We've talked about that in a couple of these shows.
Yeah.
But you're right. As long as you can free yourself up to do the truly creative and strategic work, your job is secure. I mean, I've had the same thought process in my mind. This is why I've pivoted so much into AI, because it occurred to me in late 2023, I was doing a lot of stuff that could have been automated. But one of the things that AI can't do is have this kind of a conversation with folks and develop real relationships with other people. Maybe our doppelgangers might have relationships
I think
with
they
with
can.
doppelgangers, maybe.
Yeah, you know what's
Or-
weird, Mike? Every time we say, I fall victim to this too, right? Every time we say like, oh, like if you're creative and you're strategic, or you like these kinds of conversations, like our doppelgangers can't do that. Like as soon as we say them, this is an admission live, right? I
Yep.
start thinking to myself, no, I bet they can, right? Like there is a world, Mike, where right now Clue and Drudini could have a conversation and create a great podcast because they know enough about us. They know our perspectives on AI. They know all the interviews we've done in the past. They know our history, and it would actually be a really good podcast. Would it be this podcast? I don't think so, right? Not today, but I definitely think in the future. Like, I've been like trying to get Drudini to answer questions the way I would answer them, and it sounds kludgy and it doesn't work right now. But he's smart enough that I can see if as soon as the voice gets better, people won't be able to tell if they're talking to Andrew or Drudini, and I'm gonna have to be
Yeah.
transparent about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, to your point, we were talking in the green room. Folks, go back to listen to episode 27, which I just released at the day that Andrew and I are recording this episode. It's now 10 episodes back. But that was an episode all about Notebook LM, right? Which was, there's a snippet in that episode about two people talking to each other. They're both AI generated voices and personalities based on the information that I gave them. In Notebook LM, we already know that it will soon come out with the ability to join that conversation
Yeah.
and ask them questions live and really play it as though they're real people having that conversation. It's mind-boggling where this is going. So you're right.
Do you want to
hesitate
try
before
it?
we say things like
Do
Yeah.
you want to try Drudini right now? It seems like a good transition.
that. Yeah, we have a couple minutes left. Let's
It's up to
try
you.
that.
It's up
as
to
a-
you.
No, yeah, yeah.
All right, let's give it a shot. We'll see how it works. So this is my Drudini on my phone, and this one he's just designed to do Q&As, and we're going to an event in Maryland. So he's let's see if you can hear it. All right, here we go. Come on, Drudini. Oh, there he goes.
Hello, this is Drudini.
Hey, Drudini, it's Andrew Davis, and I'm here with Mike Alton, and we're doing a podcast. Actually, we are not in National Harbor, Maryland for the ACD conference yet. How are you doing?
Hey, Andrew and Mike, it's a pleasure to be virtually with you both. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Excited to dive into our chat and share some insights about the magic of AI. What can I help you with today?
Well, we've been just talking about AI, and so we're just having a conversation. Our question basically is: in the future, is it possible for like two digital doppelgangers of real humans to get together and do their own podcast? Is that something you think is possible?
Andrew and Mike, you guys are really thinking ahead. The idea of two digital doppelgangers hosting their own podcast is fascinating. So, can digital doppelgangers of real humans collaborate on a podcast in the future? I'm sure that's something we've all pondered as we explore the potential of AI. The answer is yes. It's entirely possible. With advancements in AI, voice cloning, and conversational skills, digital doppelgangers could indeed interact with each other, potentially hosting their own podcast. This would involve sophisticated AI that can not only mimic voices, but also generate meaningful and engaging conversations. It's an exciting prospect. And as technology evolves, we may very well see AI-driven podcasts.
Thanks, Drudini. That's really interesting. All right, we just wanted to demonstrate how cool you are. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Andrew and Mike, it's been a blast chatting with you both. If you have any more questions or want to dive deeper into AI, feel free to reach out and join them.
This would have been that CTA. Perfect
Look at
mark.
that. He's like a real marker. He really thinks like me. So that's what I'm trying to do. Oh, Drudini.
That was awesome. And I don't find fault in anything that he said, certainly not in how he said it. That was a flawless delivery. It was a nice, expansive answer, which is what you want on a podcast anyways, right? You don't want to necessarily say, yeah.
Yes.
No, you wanted more than that. That was great.
Hey, he's not bad. So that I really do. I spent a lot of time with him, maybe too much, according to my wife. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, but let's follow Drudini's example because we are out of time, but I want to give you a chance to let folks know where they can follow you, where they can find you, if they have more questions, if they want to bring you in to their organization, their next event, and teach them as an organization how to do
Awesome.
digital doppelgangers. Where can they go?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn these days. So I'm Andrew Davis on LinkedIn, and I'm the only Andrew Davis with a bow tie and some orange glasses. So find me there. And you can check out my website, aka Drew Davis. And if you want to follow Drudini and see how his Instagram posts turn out, he's only posted twice so far. You can follow Drudini at Drudini Davis on Instagram.
That's awesome. That's all the time we've got for today, friends. But thanks for joining us, Andrew, and thank all of you for listening. And remember, if you're just starting your foray into AI and you're feeling overwhelmed or alone, I've got a resource just for you. Grab my AI marketing primer linked below. Join over 45,000 other marketers from around the world who are exploring and adopting AI together. Welcome to the grid. Thanks for joining us on AI and Marketing Unpacked. I hope today's episode has inspired you and given you actionable insights to integrate AI into your marketing strategies. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and consider leaving a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions you might have. Don't forget to join us next time as we continue to simplify AI and help you make a real impact in your marketing efforts. Until then, keep innovating, see just how far AI can take your marketing. Thank you for listening and have a fantastic day.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Hennika Watkis-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Hennika, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennikawatkisporter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.